Now we're going to look at the MaxScript listener and mini listener. You access the MaxScript listener here in the MaxScript menu, or you can just hit F11. The MaxScript listener consists of two panes. The top pane, the pink one, is the macro recorder pane. And various actions that you perform in Max will appear as MaxScript in the macro recorder pane if the macro recorder is enabled. And you enable it here, or you can enable it here. And it is enabled now, as you can see by the check mark. And the output window, in addition to showing output from MaxScript, is a command line processor. So you can type any valid MaxScript into the output pane, and it will be evaluated, and the results will be printed in the output pane. So one very simple example is you can type mathematical expressions. 2 plus 2, and I'm just going to hit the Enter key, and the result is printed out, 4. But usually you're going to be typing MaxScript into the output window to create or change something in your scene. So for example, I can type sphere, and then open parenthesis, close parenthesis, and hit the Enter key, and the sphere is created. Now, when you only have one line of code, right after you type it, you can hit the Enter key either on the keyboard or on the number pad, and it will execute. However, you can also execute multiple lines of code, but in that case, the keyboard Enter key doesn't work. So for example, I go back up here, and I'm going to hit the Enter key on my keyboard. Now this time, it doesn't execute that line. It just creates a blank line. Now I've typed in box, open parenthesis, close parenthesis, and I'm going to highlight both of those. Now this time, I need to use the Enter key on my number pad to execute these. So I've just executed both those lines by hitting the Enter key on my number pad. So let me move this. I'm just going to move these so that you can see that we do have two spheres and a box now. So the first time we executed sphere, it created this sphere, and the second time it created these two objects. So to execute multiple lines, type in the lines, highlight them, and use the Enter key on your number pad to execute them. Or if you don't have a number pad, maybe you're working on a laptop that doesn't have a number pad, you can use Shift-Enter on your keyboard to execute multiple lines. And the listener is normally used not so much to actually create and save a script, as to just do something quickly in the scene, create some objects perhaps, or to just do a little bit of testing. When you actually want to create and save a script, you usually go to New Script, and that's also available up here. For right now, we're just looking at the listener. Now you'll notice that the things that I do, in addition to appearing up here in this macro recorder, also appear down here. And the things that appear here in the output window, the actions that I perform, the MaxScript, also appears down here. And this box is the mini listener. It's got its own one-line macro recorder and its own one-line command line. And the main purpose of this is to allow me to execute one line of MaxScript without having to open up the listener. So for example, I can go down here, type again box, open parenthesis, close parenthesis. I'll hit the Enter key on my number pad, and it created another box. There's also a right-click menu here. So you can right-click, and you get a list of the recent things that you've done in the interface. So for example, right now you can see over here I have box 02 selected. I'll go back here and click on this line, select sphere 02. And now sphere 02 is selected. So that's the listener and the mini listener, two of your most important tools when working with MaxScript.